Welcome into Redacted, everybody. Great to see you here on this Tuesday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natali Morris.
And we've got a very busy show for you today. We got a packed show, actually, lots of guests. So we're going to get right to it. We're going to talk about, will Greenland break with the United States or become part of the United States? And what does that mean for the alliance of NATO? We just heard from the Prime Minister of Greenland just a short time ago saying, guess what? He thinks that President Trump is going to invade his country, just told his citizens to prepare for that. So we'll talk about Greenland and what that means next for NATO.
Plus, if you're following the Davos agenda, the World Economic Forum is meeting this week, and AI is basically the new religion. Now, if you read between the lines, it seems very much that they expect AI to break down countries' borders. And then what? It is your new personal philosophy. It is your new religion. It is your new legal system. We're going to collectively talk about how we feel about this because it's a little bit nerve-wracking. We're also going to talk about debanking and silver. Mm-hmm. Go ahead with that one.
Okay. We're going to talk about the U.S. dollar collapse. And last week, of course, we saw what the U.S. Mint did, and everyone freaked out about it. The silver surging over $90 an ounce. And now the U.S. dollar is spiraling out of control. And why did the U.S. Mint pull those silver coins off of its website and then relist them for nearly twice the cost? We're going to talk about all of that and more as Redacted kicks off right now. But first,
we want to tell you about our friends over at Tempo, because if you have New Year's resolutions to eat better, well, Tempo is a great solution. Now, in our house, we make breakfast and dinner for the kids. We pack their lunches, but for us, we work from home. It's really hard to find healthy meals for lunch that we don't have to prepare, that's not extra work, and that fit into our dietary plan, which in our house we like to eat a high animal fat, high protein diet. So, when your schedule is nonstop, you have meetings, errands, Tempo is a great way to slip in an extra meal that is individually portioned and healthy for just you. So if you want to start your year strong, you can make healthy choices. And when you have Tempo, you don't have to make a last minute choice when you're hungry, which is when you make the worst decisions. So check them out. They have all manner of delicious foods to choose from. Go to tempomeals.com/redacted. And for a limited time, you can get 60% off your first box. Again, Tempo delivers fresh, chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals right to your door, individually portioned and ready in just 2 minutes. That means real food, fast, without that sad desk lunch or drive-through regret. Or like me yesterday, I cleaned my daughter's room. I found Christmas cookies that she had left there, and I ate them because I didn't plan ahead for a meal. So don't make mistakes like that. Head on over to tempomeals.com/redacted. Again, you can get 60% off your first box, tempomeals.com/redacted.
All right. Everything good now? Everything good across the board?
Yep. Everything's good.
Yep. Looking good.
All right. People are saying in Rumble, no sound, but okay. Hopefully that's all. Hopefully that's good. Okay. Good. All
Everybody can verify sound is going out.
All right. That's good. That's a plus. Well, it's my way or the highway. That's the message from President Donald Trump on Greenland. Trump has reportedly delivered an ultimatum to a group of European countries, accept the sale of Greenland to the United States or face additional trade tariffs. Here's what he posted on Truth Social. Shockingly, our brilliant NATO ally, the United Kingdom, is currently planning to give away the island of Diego Garcia, the site of a vital U.S. military base, to Mauritius, and to do so for no reason whatsoever. There's no doubt that China and Russia have noticed this act of total weakness. These are international powers who recognize strength, which is why the United States of America, under my leadership, is now, after only 1 year, respected like never before. The UK giving away extremely important land is an act of great stupidity and is another in a very long line of national security reasons why Greenland has to be acquired. Denmark and its European allies have to do the right thing. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So make no mistake about it. Of course, the Arctic is the future battlefield. It's of strategic vital importance, and it cannot be overstated. So is this threat real, and what does this mean for the future of NATO? Dr. Olga Ravasi joins us now to break it all down. Welcome back to the show. Great to see you.
Good to see you guys. I haven't seen you in a while. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year
I'm still in the New Year. And Natali, don't feel bad. I had a spoonful of Nutella this morning, so...
If we're confessing things, there was also a Reese's in there. So, we want to get your take on whether or not the United States is really willing to break this faux friendship with Europe over Greenland. What do you think?
Well, I think it's high time for us to reevaluate who we are as Americans, first and foremost, what it is that benefits us. And as president, Donald J. Trump is the commander in chief. His priority must be what is of interest to us as the American people. And I think what we need to do and what he needs to do is put that to the forefront and decouple from these false alliances that have become a liability. And the false alliances that have, sometimes even become unconstitutional for us, have led us into wars, have led us on these adventures that never benefited the American people, were quite detrimental to our interest, have bankrupted the country. So at this point, Europeans threatening that NATO will be broken up, well, that is exactly what the American people kind of want. We're tired of the global institutions that have taken priority over our own interests. So yes, the key word right now should be decouple from the European Union, which is a whole bunch of unelected bureaucrats. I'm watching them kind of get all wrapped up about this situation and in Denmark and Greenland. And yes, rightfully so. However, they have set many precedents to this. May I mention Kosovo? May I mention even Cyprus? May I mention Crimea, that the Russians are taking as their own precedent because they are listing Kosovo and others as something that we have set up through the rules-based globalist order or liberal order, which always meant rule for me and not for thee. So at this point, President Trump needs to stand up to the European leaders who are kind of acting like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse there. And you mentioned they're sending about 100 soldiers. Well, I understand there's some huskies and, sleigh dogs, but not to make light of this situation. I think what is emerging is the multipolar world, whether we want it or not. The last time we had something similar to this was obviously during Cold War, where you had two global military powers. I saw something interesting the other day, and I thought it was funny and humorous, but I think that's where we're going. It looked like a map of the world and sort of President Trump drawing on it with red marker. And on the Western Hemisphere, he put me, and then over across Asia, he put Putin, and then on the South, he put President Xi. And that's basically what I see emerging, multipolar world where Russia, the United States, and China are going to be the primary players, and the rest of the globe will essentially have to fall in. We also must remember that in the global real politics, we really don't have friends, we have interests. And at this point, it is in our interest not only to decouple from globalist institutions, but to actually look at what belongs to us in the Western Hemisphere. And, for Germany and France, for example, to try to challenge us over Greenland would be just as ridiculous as, if China and Russia were trying to challenge us now in Latin America. So I think that's where we are, whether we like it or not.
So it seems like this is the end of NATO. Maybe it's not dead tomorrow. It's not dead on Saturday. But this, if you have the United States of America taking a country from a NATO country, what does this mean truly for the future of NATO? And if the map, as you say, is Trump says me over here, Putin up here to the north, she is to, then that leaves NATO out of the mix completely. Or excuse me, that leaves the EU out of the mix almost completely. Off the table.
Well, it does, but you're right. It actually does leave NATO out completely. And may I remind everybody of Article 5, and look where that got us, how much protection that offers. But again, I will go back to Cyprus because there are several conversations that are happening here. Can Article 5 and is Article 5 protecting NATO allies? That's conversation number one. And conversation number two is accession to the European Union, where at some point there were rules that said those countries that have contested borders cannot join European Union. Well, again, I go back to Cyprus. Cyprus has been occupied, partially occupied by Turkey since 1974, but that didn't stop them. Serbia was bombed illegally, and then Kosovo unilaterally declared independence in 2008 with, can I remind everybody again, Denmark being one of the first countries to recognize this independence. Now, Kosovo being a pet project of the United States, of the deep state United States, of the globalist swamp, is now in a really tricky position because, look, anytime the Americans do something, there's the leaders of Kosovo saying, oh, we support, here we are the best ally, we are your pet project. Well, now they also owe a favor to the Danish because they recognize them immediately. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to stretch themselves and prove loyalty to, the deep state that it created them essentially, and then also be loyal to their European quote unquote partners and sponsors who recognize them. So yes, look, if NATO is going to be breaking apart over this, I say we welcome it because NATO essentially has been targeted by President Trump ever since he came into office and started campaigning in 2015, 2016. NATO has become a liability. European Union is a liability, but European Union leaders and leaders of the European countries have done this to themselves. And unfortunately, they have done this to their own people. So
Right.
I'm just kind of watching when the Europeans are going to kind of stand up for their own interests and understand that their leadership has brought them to this point.
So what do we make of the groveling of European leaders now? President Trump posted these messages, this one from Mark Rutte, like, hey, not sure about this Greenland bit. Let's talk about it in Davos. See ya. Emmanuel Macron, love what you're doing in Iran, love what you're doing in Syria. Greenland, I'm not so sure of. Let's have a dinner. It's comical, but also tragic. It should not happen like this. These are elected leaders
Also,
communicating over text.
Also, you're publishing someone's private text messages.
Well, President Trump did that. Yeah,
Right.
All of it feels almost buffoonish. What can we make of this?
I feel like
both
we're
sides.
watching Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Well, it's buffoonish simply because these selected leaders are essentially buffoons. And they are completely incompetent. They have proven themselves to be completely incompetent. They are not there for their own people. They have been indebted to the globalist institutions, and the globalist institutions have dictated to them very selective policies depending on where they are. And I have outlined some of those. So the selectiveness and the double standard and the hypocrisy is now coming. Chickens are coming home to roost because it's knocking on their door. And now when we have certain regions that are disputed all of a sudden in Europe that are not going along their agenda, now they're saying, well, let's talk about it. Well, why are they even complimenting what's happening in Iran? Why are they complimenting what's happening in Syria?
Yeah.
We are sowing discord everywhere, and we are leaving a trail of blood behind us, and we have been doing it for many, many years. And, many foreign nations have used the United States as their tool to bludgeon others to death, literally. And at this point, I think President Trump needs to take charge, needs to do what is good for the American people, needs to do what is good for us, and needs to decouple. So at this stage, look, I feel I'm European by ancestry. I feel deeply for our European brothers and sisters over there, but I also think they need to grow some backbone. And I think their leadership needs to be challenged. I also noticed that the joint EU statements are being blocked by leaders like Orban, like Fico. So there is some backbone there. There are leaders who are challenging this quote unquote false unity. And I think it needs to continue being challenged. The Europeans need to turn inward, just like we as Americans need to turn inward and look. Russians and Chinese are not interested in going to war with us. they're interested in doing business with us. And we're not going to go to war over any territory, although what's happening in Ukraine is a huge proxy war. But again, it's being led by Europeans and by NATO, which proves my point. It's a liability for us. Yeah. We don't need the liability anymore.
Dr. Ogle, we'll get you out of here on this. What do you think happens next with Greenland? You already see Polymarket saying that there's a 1 in 4 chance of an invasion. That seems like that's a low number at this point. But what do you think the timetable looks like for this annexation of Greenland?
I think President Trump needs a win, quite honestly, in the foreign policy realm, although he is talking about some of those wins that he outlined during this campaign. He will do what needs to be done and what he is being advised on. I can't give you a timetable. What I can tell you is that the Europeans are bluffing. They're certainly not going to militarily, at least, stand up against us. Neither will the Canadians. I heard their prime minister say something to that effect. We're not going to go into any kind of military intrusion. I mean, I don't know, maybe we can kidnap their prime minister.
Right.
Sorry.
We're good at that, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, not to make light of this, I'm just kind of trying to paint a picture of everything that's going on globally and how, again, selectively we have done this to ourselves. Timeline, as far as President Trump is concerned, probably should have been yesterday, because that is what we need. But we will see how the rest reacts. As I said, I think this is going to be the decisions that are going to be made by 3 current superpowers. And not only Greenland, the fate of Greenland, but the fate of all of the other contested regions in this world. And I think that's what we're looking at. So I don't expect military incursion. I do expect strongly worded statements out of the Europeans, but I think they will leave it at that.
Right. We saw in European Parliament today, like, hey, Donald Trump, F off. If you're really taking that seriously, you need to get your head examined. The European Union, they're just going to stand there with platitudes. They really don't have any... There's nothing for them to do except sit in the corner and watch, really.
There really isn't, and I think everybody knows that. But of course, that's all they can do. Kind of bark up, but they're barking up the wrong tree. They need to bark internally and figure out what they're going to do with their own countries, because truly the Europeans have shot themselves in the foot.
I want to ask you, I'm sorry to keep you longer. We do need to move on.
No worries.
Where did they go wrong? Where could they have avoided this? Is it really the forming the European Union decapitated all of these nations that could have once been strong, or is it way farther back than this?
That is part of it. They have decapitated themselves because they have turned their sovereignty to the unelected bureaucrats. But at the same time, NATO, we must remember, plays a huge role in I know a lot of people do not want to hear this, but I do consistently go back to the Balkans, because the Balkans in the 1990s have served as the blueprint for a lot of what we're experiencing today, and including the reinvention of NATO. NATO was obsolete when the Warsaw Pact fell apart. And when we came out of that Cold War, where I mentioned we had kind of spheres of influence, which I think is where we're going back to. And I think that was fairly healthy. I'm not advocating that we go back to the Soviet Union era of the Cold War, but what I'm advocating and saying, whether we like it or not, we're going to go back to each superpower controlling their own sphere of influence and doing business with one another, which is what really matters and what they really want. Although we need to neuter some of the voices here in the United States that are consistently pushing us into war, like Lindsey Graham's of this world, who consistently want us to go to war with Russia, with China, with Iran. If we neuter these voices here, and the Russians and Chinese have certainly neutered the voices of, those war-hungry voices in their own nations, we are going to get to the point where we're doing business. So yes, where we went wrong was reinventing NATO, and going into this unipolar global liberal order that now is proving to everybody that has failed. So there are many elements to it, but I think the European Union, the bureaucrat institutions, the globalist institutions have actually sacrificed their own peoples, their own sovereignty, and these big entangling alliances through the globalist institutions, and not just NATO and European Union, but you guys are talking about Davos and World Economic Forum and the United Nations and World Health Organization. I mean, every single chaotic event that has taken place in the world has had ties to some of these globalist institutions. And it's really high time for the United States to decouple from them. And that will spell out imminent death to these institutions because simply they depend on us. Now, I did see something that Europeans want to create a new military order of some sort that will include Ukraine. So it's one of those, like, I don't want to play with you anymore and give me my toys back. They can have their toys back. I think we're going to be just fine.
Ooh,
and
not Ukraine.
Said,
okay.
I know. We're so scared.
Do you, just to be clear, are you saying that you believe President Trump should pay for and buy Greenland? Is that where you come down on this? I don't know that we asked you outright where you come down on this.
I don't know if we're really going to be paying for it per se. We'll see how that plays out. I saw President Putin talk about this the other day, and he kind of almost sounded like, to me, gave a green light and kind of outlined some historical attempts of the United States trying to acquire Greenland. So
yeah, this isn't the first time.
Really, I was watching it the other day, and I can't remember where he was giving an interview, but he actually kind of sounded like he understands our attempt to do this. So I fall on kind of that exact map going back to the beginning. Here's us, here's Putin, here's and I think the spheres of influence are going to become clear, and we're going to do business, and we're not going to go to war. Maybe it sounds naive and simplistic, but I think that is President Trump, that is his gut feeling, it seems like, although sometimes he gets bad advice. So I feel that's where he wants to go. So maybe I think that's where we need to be. It'll be healthy for us.
I think Colonel McGregor was kind of
not
echoing.
So sure that the American people need to pay for it.
Yeah, $700 billion.
I draw the line there. We're not paying.
We already paid for Ukraine. We don't even have it.
Exactly. So, I think we're done paying.
Yeah.
Well, how much money have we already given to the European Union, for crying out loud? So maybe it's, I don't know.
Well, maybe so here's the thing. They're threatening us with tariffs again. So, I mean, from what I understand, we'll see how. I think it's a longer process to see what the real benefit or disadvantages are of this tariff war. But the American people don't want to pay for anything anymore. So I think that is something we need to take away with this.
Well, we can't afford groceries, so that's probably we don't want to buy Greenland.
Exactly.
All right, Dr. Ogul-Ravasi,
well,
thank you.
Maybe if we mine enough, we'll afford groceries. If we mine up there and,
Yeah, plenty of resources there. Well, Doctor, great to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you for this conversation. I appreciate it. Someone in the chat room said the first thing that Trump will do is open up a McDonald's in Greenland.
There you go. Isn't there one?
I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
Buc-ee's.
Let's ask our Buc-ee's. Let's ask our chat room. Where do you guys come down on this? Do you guys believe that, first of all, the United States needs to take Greenland, pay for Greenland? Where do you guys come down on this?
I think hers was an extremely pragmatic approach, whether you want it or not, whether you want the United States to be seen like this or not, whether you think it's necessary. We don't know the will of the people of Greenland. I think most people don't understand that. So, but what she's saying is that it needs to happen, this breakup between the EU and the US. And if Greenland is the thing that happens, so be it. And I think that's a valid take. I don't know how I feel about it personally, but I appreciate the pragmatic sense of it, and I really trust her instinct.
A lot of people saying yes, that we do need to take Greenland, pay for Greenland. Remnant says no, that we don't need it.
I don't want any bloodshed over Greenland. Obviously, I don't want Greenland. If Macron's text is prologue, I don't want Greenland to turn into Syria. I don't want Syria to be Syria. Same with Iran. So, this is something that we have to look at from a sobering nature.
Well, yeah, a lot of people saying, yeah, we need to take it. It needs to be part of the United States.
I don't see the point. So, I mean, it's not like Greenland is not letting us patrol those waters. So what is the point? Why do we need it? I just don't get it.
What he continues to say is that Russia can't have it, although what she seemed to indicate is that Russia is not going to fight us for it.
Russia does not want to take, Russia does not need more land. Putin has been kind of explicit about that. It's too large to manage as it is. Mm-hmm. They absolutely do not need more land, and they certainly don't need, English-speaking land on top of that with no Russian heritage.
Well, I mean, a lot of the resources of Greenland we have in Alaska, but they're stuck in litigation. We cannot actually mine them. So would this be something new now that these resources are available to us with fewer red tape? I don't know.
Well, and also...
Go ahead. Oh, David disappeared. So, yeah, a lot of people saying, a lot of people saying, go ahead.
I'm still here. I just heard Olga talking, but her audio's not on here. I don't understand why we can't, we say China's the bad guy, but China's going into these places and they're saying, hey, you've got some resources that we want. If we can have access to those, we'll build bridges. We'll do, they give something to get something.
Right.
But why do we got to do it militarily?
Well, who knows? Again, who's to say they're going to do it militarily? I mean, that's at the heart of it, right? So can this be? I don't think we're going to be sending any kind of troops to Greenland. I mean, Trump can talk like he's going to, but I don't think Americans are going to be sending any troops there. But I mean, who knows? But
Olga, did you want to finish what you were saying?
I just wanted to mention quickly, some nations had a referendum. Yeah. Do we allow the Greenlanders to have a referendum and then send international observers? But again, there were precedents set around the world for that. Some had referendums, some didn't have referendums, and the Western nations recognized them, where, for example, Crimea had a referendum that was very legal. Over 90% of them voted to join Russia, but then we don't recognize that. So again, hypocrisy, selectiveness, and here we are now. I just wanted to
and
that.
you're right.
Fantastic point.
And great point. And Eastern Ukraine, the Donbass, Donetsk,
exactly.
A referendum to join the Russian Federation by over 90%.
Right.
And we don't recognize it because we think we know better.
But then Kosovo did not have a referendum, and here we are recognizing, and so
neither did Hawaii.
We have that too. So I even go back to Cyprus and Turkey, and how much the Article 5 is protecting our Greek brothers and sisters over there. So we really sow discord around the world, and now it's coming home.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would say, a referendum is a great idea. Let's, sure, if we want it, what's the will of the people? So thank you for bringing that up. Fantastic.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Good to see you again.
You too. Thanks for coming back in. All right. What should we do? Should we move on to our guest now?
Let's be respectful of Mike. Mike's joining us next here. We're going to talk about silver and the U.S. dollar collapse. We're going to talk about that, silver versus the U.S. dollar right now. I don't know if you saw what the U.S. Mint did last week, which was suddenly they just made their 1 ounce silver coins unavailable. You couldn't buy them anymore, and then they popped back up at twice the cost all of a sudden. So now $163 to get your silver. I was just on their website a few minutes ago confirming those prices. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But first, all right, you don't have to overhaul your whole life in 2026 to start eating better. Sometimes it's as simple as swapping out snacks in your pantry. That's exactly why I've been loving masa chips. We love these in the family. I just ordered a second batch this past week. I just got the notification through Shop that they're on their way. I'm a huge fan. No seed oils. No seed oils at all. 3 ingredients. That's why we're all fat and unhealthy. We're eating all these seed oils. 100% grass-fed beef tallow, corn, and sea salt. That's it. You can't get. That's 3 ingredients. Great. No seed oils. Just real food. No garbage your body doesn't recognize. Absolutely love them. Here's the incredible thing. These aren't healthy but boring chips. They actually taste incredible. And my son loves them. He was like, give me the masa chips. We were eating our taco night the other night, and he was dipping in guacamole because they don't actually break in half. They're super crunchy, taste delicious. My favorite right now, I ordered another batch of these because I love these, the white ones. These are really good. Oh man, these white, these are the traditional tortilla chips, but these are the white kind. Really, really good. I think these are my favorite. I'm trying all of them though. And so I just ordered another big batch of these. You can get the French onions, and you can try them all. Vandy Crisps, also their sister company, has the same philosophy. Just potato chips, 3 ingredients, unreal flavor. You can try their French onion, their herbes de Provence, their smokehouse barbecue, which my kids love. Anyway, give them a try. They're super good, really, really delicious. They're a nice treat. Just go to masachips.com/redacted news. Use that code redacted news for 25% off your first order, or simply click the link in the video description or scan that QR code that's right there on your screen. And if you don't feel like ordering online, you can go to the Sprouts supermarket. They carry them as well. So just stop by and pick up a couple of bags before they're gone. So thanks to Masa for supporting our show. Big fans around here. Well, what is happening with the U.S. dollar, and what is happening with the supply of precious metals like silver over the past week? Well, just take a look. This looks like this looks like you're climbing a mountain there. Holy smokes. Silver price is officially surging above 90% for the first time in history, now up another 25% this year. Right now, silver's market cap is officially above $5 trillion for the first time in history. Then something interesting happened. Every single silver product that was previously for sale on the U.S. Mint, it was listed as not available or available for limited time. You can see here, take a look at this. This was not available, $95, not available, not available, not available, with limited availability. And then it was relisted, and I just was on there just a few minutes ago. Here's the relist of it. You can see now, and you can see these prices. Now they've been relisted. Scroll up, keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. $169, $173, $169, like nearly twice the cost. Okay. What the hell is going on here? Mike Adams, the health ranger, posted this. He said, sorry in advance, about the profanity. But those who don't yet own silver are way more effed than they realize. A reset is coming. Dollar holders will be obliterated. Trump won't save you. Grow the F up and stop believing in government currency and fairy tales. Become your own central bank by stacking metals while the dollar is still worth something. Mike, people seem like, let's bring in Mike Adams now, because I love that post, and I think we are in for a major shift, and I think people need to wake up. Great to see you, Mike.
Hey, it's great to see you. Thanks for having me back on, and I will avoid profanity on your show, although it was appropriate in the post.
No worries about that. I'm from Philly, so I welcome
Okay.
profanity.
Well, then I'll amp it up for you a little bit. Then.
Take it to 11.
Yeah,
Mike, people seem like they're in denial about this. About the U.S. dollar, like they're compartmentalizing. I made a post the other day, and someone said, "LOL, you seriously think the U.S. dollar is in trouble?" LOL. And I was like, what fantasy world are you living in? $39 trillion in debt. Dr. Ron Paul has been repeatedly pointing out that the collapse is coming. A number of economists have been pointing this out as well. Are people in denial?
well, absolutely, because the erosion is happening every single day, so it's sometimes difficult for people to see it until they look back and realize how much has food gone up in terms of cost over the last year, or the cost of health insurance, or many other things. Now, granted, gasoline and fuel are much lower cost today because of Trump's pro-energy policies, and those are benefiting the U.S. economy. But the endless currency printing will destroy the currency, and those who stacked gold and silver for over the last X number of years are doing extremely well, and that's going to continue. Now, I just want to be clear. My area of expertise is in the sciences, and I own a lab, mass spec, laboratory analysis, periodic table of elements, et cetera. So I've done a deep dive into silver and its uses and demand on the industrial and scientific side. But I'm not on the trading side or the finance.
With all this excess silver that's sitting around and prices are so low, right? Let's see if this is actually a good conductor. Like, let's see if we can actually use this as an application in our solar panels, and let's see if we can actually use it because people didn't want all this extra silver and the prices are low. Well, then when you get this multipolar order that's shifting now away, China not wanting to ship silver out, massive demand for solar panels and AI data centers and everything else. Now suddenly there's like a mad scramble because people found out that there's nothing as good as silver, is there?
Yeah, there's no replacement for silver and its properties on the table of elements. And I also, let me bring in the larger context. This has everything to do with even Greenland and ocean routes and tariffs and everything else. It's all related. And I'll keep it short here, but the data center demand, which is part of the race to superintelligence, which is the most critical invention, the most critical weapon invention in the eyes of the Pentagon versus China, that relies on power. And here in the United States, our power grid is really suffering, especially the eastern grid, which lacks power. You can't really bring a gigawatt data center online right now unless you bring the power with you, whereas China produces more than twice the U.S. power on an annual aggregate basis.
Mike, before you move on, how delicate is our grid?
It's really on the verge of catastrophe, in especially the 13 eastern grid states. And this cold front that's about to move in right now, this is going to test certain areas, and we will see some power loss. But it's in a very delicate, fragile state. We are about 20 years behind the necessary infrastructure investment to modernize our power grid. And I have to say, by the way, that a lot of that was because of the climate lunacy that was pushed by previous administrations. So they wanted to shut down power grid infrastructure. The same thing happened in Europe. And then, when Nord Stream got destroyed, guess what? They ended up with no domestic power for industry in Germany or France or very limited supplies. Similar thing is happening right now. We are 20 years behind. Trump has announced that we're going to invest in Westinghouse AP1000 nuclear power plants, which is great, but those are 14 to 20 years out. That's too late for the race to superintelligence. Now, silver has everything to do with this, and let me explain. Silver is key for critical battery storage technology. Not for all battery chemistries, such as sodium ion or sodium sulfur or lithium ion, and I do focus on a lot of battery chemistry. But it's crucial for example, the new Samsung battery technology, which is a silver carbon thin film layered anode. That's a solid state battery that allows for rapid charging and discharging and a large number of charge-discharge cycles.
Is it safer than lithium ion?
Absolutely, it's safer, yeah, because it doesn't have a liquid electrolyte that sloshes around and can go into thermal runaway fire events. So the Samsung battery uses so much silver that Samsung purchased a silver mine in Mexico. I think it's the La Parilla mine there that they bought that, and they're reopening it, and they're going to get 100% of the silver output from that mine.
Wow.
That silver is not going to go into the silver marketplace. That silver is going to the stockpiles of Samsung to make these batteries. Now, let me bring it back together here. The reason this matters is because the only way for the U.S. to compete globally in the race to superintelligence is to scale up data centers, and they need the power. The only way to bring the power online is to do massive solar expansion that can happen in 6 months or a year instead of waiting for nuclear or gas turbines that have up to a 10-year wait time. And the only way to have solar work is you have to have grid shifting battery storage technology, because the sun doesn't shine 24 hours a day, right? So that's where silver comes in. In other words, the only way for the U.S. to be competitive against China in the race to superintelligence is if we acquire a massive amount of silver. That's going to drive silver prices to the moon. To use a common term. I don't know where they're going to go exactly, but I think they'll be at $200 in 2027, and they'll hit $100 maybe this week. Who knows? It could be tomorrow the way this is going.
Right.
But
we're already seeing
estimates.
We're already seeing estimates in a few weeks of $120, $160.
Yes.
It's great.
Could very well be there.
What do you make of what the U.S. Mint is doing, though? I mean, they pulled their supply down, said unavailable, and then made it available at twice the cost.
The Mint is foreshadowing the spot price of silver, frankly, of physical silver.
Great point.
If you read the price at the Mint, and some of those were $173 per troy ounce. Now, granted, there's a Silver Eagle premium in that, but maybe the calculated spot is $150 on the physical silver. That's not unreasonable. I wouldn't be surprised at all if silver hits $150 before this summer.
How bad, given this multipolar shift, I've been covering it for years now on the show, drawing the line in the sand for precious metals, and President Trump, within his first few weeks in office, declared executive orders as a national security risk or threat. Silver, copper, all of these precious minerals have become part of the national security interests of the United States, and as you point out, these mines are being bought up by car companies and Apple, Tesla. We see what Tesla and Elon Musk are doing with some of these different mining mines around the world as well. How bad is our silver supply in the United States right now?
It's horrible. There's no more excess buffer of silver above ground ready to go into the refineries. It's hardly any of that exists. The annual output of the mines is a fraction of the annual demand based on industry. So the only way that this is going to be resolved, well, there's a couple of ways. One is that certain processes can use a lot less silver. For example, China's working on certain solar panel technology that can eliminate most of the silver, but you lose efficiency per square meter of land. So you get less solar energy as a result. The second way is for the price to rise high enough for current stackers of silver to be motivated to let go of their silver or even their junk silver, 90% silver coins. But that requires, again, a lot more refining, and the refineries are backed up right now trying to produce physical silver. So silver is going to continue to skyrocket unless there is some event that collapses the global industry, such as aliens showing up, or I'm talking like some major global event that just shuts down industry, like a COVID shutdown type of event. Barring that, silver is going to keep rising and keep rising and keep rising, and companies like Tesla are going to stockpile it, and Samsung is going to stockpile it, and Chinese companies. China's already put the export restrictions on silver. As you said, Trump has already declared it a critical national resource, and he's right to do that. And copper, I think, was included in that. It should be, and there are many other rare earths that have to be included. And also the control of the trade routes is, a lot of it is about control to the access of the mines in other countries and being able to bring in mines from Africa or mines from South America by sea instead of by road or rail. That's a big part of it, actually.
That's a great point, and a huge piece of the Belt and Road Initiative that China has been laying the foundation for the last 20 years, with rail all through Europe and through, absolutely, you're right about that. Mike, we are certainly living in interesting times, that's for sure.
In indeed we are. The one final thought also, this battery technology is going to enable edge devices such as robots and drones to be far more power efficient and have longer range. And this is going to be necessary in whatever world war situation comes up. Who's got the robots and drones that fly the farthest or walk the farthest? That answer is going to depend on who develops the best battery technology.
Wow. You're right. I'm already picturing Terminator. I'm already picturing.
Okay, thank you for holding. We had a little technical difficulty. We are back. Thank you so much for joining us. We are intending to continue with the show. We have a lot to get to. We're going to talk about how the EU is going after X because of, I want to call them not nude pictures, derobing pictures, this new thing where Grok supposedly can disrobe people, undress people in an AI fashion. How would you feel about that? Is this really a serious concern, or is this a way for the EU to take down X in a way that they have been trying to do for years? Before we do that, we want to tell you about our friends over at IQ Bar because, hey, do you know about this exclusive snack, this hydration and coffee sponsor called IQ Bar? Well, they make a buffet of options for you to stay healthy on the run. Their IQ hydration mixes are my go-to. I keep these with me at all times because my son is a migrainer, and it's a great way to have, it's almost like what you might think of as a Gatorade. It's an electrolyte drink. So I keep them in my car, I keep them in my purse, I keep them in his backpack, and if he ever gets any kind of aura or feels a migraine coming on, hydration is really the key to staving those off. I mean, they're good for everybody, but especially for our medical needs, we keep these on hand all the time, and they're delicious. I especially like the blood orange one. The IQ bars are energy bars that you can keep on the road, and in fact, this weekend we did a day trip to the mountains to go skiing, and all of us had them in our ski jackets because we don't want a $40 hamburger when we're on the slopes. And it was a great meal replacement. They have many different flavors. They also have coffee drinks as well. So, you know, new year, new clean slate, time to transform frustration into fuel. Power your day with IQ Parts. So check out all the things that they've got. Text Redacted to 64,000. That's 64000. You'll get 20% off plus free shipping. So prioritize your health and wellness. Make sure you have healthy snacks on the go, healthy hydration, all of the amazing things that the IQ Bar offers. I can't say enough good things about them. So check it out for yourself. Text Redacted to 64000. You get 20% off plus free shipping. So check them out, IQ Bar. You'll be happy that you did. All right, well, is this really about protecting women from AI abuse, or is this the EU's latest attempt to finally bring X to heel? EU lawmakers now argue that because X will no longer comply with certain regulatory demands, the platform itself poses a risk that justifies intervention. But critics point out the timing, years of the European Union trying to control X, and now this is a good reason. Now, is this moral panic, or is this legit? It's hard for us to know. The latest condemnation comes after TV host Maya Jama publicly condemned users of the AI chatbot Grok for generated non-consensual deepfake images of her, essentially undressing her in digitally manipulated photos without her permission. Now, Elon Musk says this is actually not happening. Grok is not supposed to do these things, and if you ask it to, it should deny you that request. So the question isn't whether deepfake abuse is real. The question is whether or not this is a moment to protect victims, or is it advancing the EU's power grab? How do we know? Journalist Anna McGovern joins us to discuss this. She's been writing about this. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So at a high level, what are we looking at here? Is this a genuine attempt to protect women, or is this a power grab by EU regulators? What do you think? It could be both.
So I think both come into picture here. So I've been conducting an investigation about the people that have been coming forward and saying that their images have been digitally undressed using Grok's image editing function. And the women that I spoke to talked about their experience, talked about what happened, and also how one of them spoke to me and said, the time when her family then discovered these images for the first time and couldn't tell whether it was real or AI. Now, personally, I do think in terms of the Labour government, I think that there is another agenda at play here. So with Elon Musk, he has actually come forward after, people have raised awareness of this. Elon Musk did say that he's vowed to ensure that Grok will no longer be able to produce those images in jurisdictions where it is illegal. So I think that is really positive that he's actually responded and he's starting to do something about it. Now, with the Labour government, I do feel like that there is a heightened scrutiny on on Grok, because if you factor in there are other AI platforms as well that produce this content, why are they not having the similar level of scrutiny that Grok is having in the news? And what we've seen in the past as well is when, for example, with the Labour government, if Elon Musk has posted something that they don't like, they have been highly critical of Elon Musk and the X platform in itself. And I think with X, it's given rise to free speech, independent journalism. We've now seen a lot of people rise on there and report on news that otherwise we just wouldn't have heard about. So I think that there is so much good there. And a lot of the critics have been saying that the Labour government will do what they can to clamp down on free speech and to criticise X. And I think this demonstrates as such.
But from a tech standpoint, how realistic is it to expect a social platform to fully prevent AI misuse that can happen off the platform too? I mean, I can draw a naked picture of myself that's fake too. So what is a realistic expectation for those of us who are women, you know, moving into the AI world?
So one thing that I found very interesting coming out of all of this is it was suggested at the beginning of January that the Labour government, they'll look at whatever all possible methods in approaching this. And it was suggested, could X be banned? Which for the women that has come forward and said that this had happened to them, none of the women that I spoke to said that they wanted to see X banned. And they spoke to me about all the positive things that X has brought to them and to free speech. So I think Elon Musk, he has responded, and they are, you know, the fact he's actually come forward, he said that they're not going to allow this to continue. I think for a start, that is really positive. Speaking personally, I don't think that the sheer quantity of it, I don't think that it should just be full reign in terms of the image editing function. I think there should be some restrictions in terms of that. But I think the fact that this has been used to be a potential avenue for looking at ways to ban X, stifle free speech, that is not something that I agree with.
Well, it seems like it would be easy to prove. You can show the back end programming and say, you can see how this is disallowed. This is not against the rules. And if it happens, it can be reported and removed. Yeah. Why is that not good enough for any world government?
So one of the women that I spoke to, she said that when these images were being produced of her by these anonymous accounts, that when she'd actually reported it to the platform, that majority of the time X had responded and had actually taken those images down, which I think that's good. So they've actually, so it's not like they've just let it, full reign and not doing anything. The fact that the platform is actually taking those pictures down when it's been reported, I think that's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, I guess I'm trying to put myself into the mind of a younger, more vulnerable woman who would see something like this. And even if it's down, someone else could have a copy, and that can be extremely anxietizing. But again, at the same time, if you have made yourself a public figure, is this something that we as women just have to think, people are going to do this? People are going to draw you in unflattering ways. I don't know. I'm trying to see this from all angles and be sensitive, but while at the same time, make sure that we're not handing power to world governments to fix any problems, really.
And again, as I was saying, I think what is interesting about all of this happening at the moment is that there's been such a heightened scrutiny when it comes to Grok, when it comes to X. And the question that I would ask is, what about the other AI services that are out there that produce this kind of content? What are we doing about that? We're hearing so much about Grok. And, I think it is important to have these conversations, but at the same time, I do wonder, why isn't the same level of scrutiny being applied to other platforms where this is happening? So I think that is quite interesting. And I think in terms of the current UK government that we have, I think that those in power will do what they can to stifle free speech. And I think this has been an opportunity for them to over and over criticize X, criticize Elon Musk. And I think as well, it is very positive that the platform has, from what I have seen and from the women that I've spoken to, they have taken down the images when they're being reported. The fact that Elon Musk has publicly responded to this as well, I think that is very good. But are we looking at the other AI platforms where this content is being produced, and what are we doing about that?
Exactly. And so what do you think the European Union really wants from X?
So I think personally that that they will look at anything to stifle free speech. And I think X has been a bastion for free speech. We've seen so many people coming forward reporting on news that we otherwise just would not see. And I think it's given rise to so much independent journalism, which I think has been so positive. And I know Elon Musk, that's been a big platform in building, part of building the X platform has been that. And I think those in power would be very wary of X because it gives rise to this journalism, and it also gives rise to people criticizing things and the government as well, which I don't think they necessarily like to see, which is why I think those in power would likely do whatever they can to stifle X, to stifle free speech. And I think this is presented as a perfect opportunity, because then, as I said, why are we not looking at other platforms where this might be taking place? Why has it been such a big focus on this? I think we should be looking at anything else that content could be being produced on as well.
Right. And something else, maybe this is an insensitive question, so I'll ask it anyway with that acknowledgement, is that Western governments in the last decade have been very big on, you're weak, these things hurt you, we're going to protect you. You can't handle this. Instead of, hey, you got to be able to handle a hard world. We're going to do our best to protect you. But at the same time, and so I wonder if this is a way, there's no messaging around like, hey, women, if this happens to you, what what I'm saying is like, oh, you can't handle this. What can we do as individuals to make ourselves stronger, to be like, this is not going to affect me. I'm not going to, this is online bullying. This is, you know what I'm saying? I'm not asking this well, but I guess what I'm saying is there something about us that, like, let's not give power to the government. Let's learn to handle this better as women.
So I think, for a start with X, the fact that they have these protocols in place that when we're talking about these images, they have been taking them down. I think that is really positive, that they are doing something where people have reported it. They're not comfortable with that being posted up there. And X has actually taken some action and taken these images down. And that's from the women that I've spoken to and posts that I've seen talking about this as well. I think, the online world can be a very nasty place as well. And I think, having I think when you're in the public space as well, people are always going to have an opinion. But I think that's, again, with free speech, you have the right to an opinion. You have the right to say things that you criticize things that you don't like. And that's part of it. And I think leaning on your friends, your family, your community, and also as well, I think if you are passionate about what you're talking about, you hold closely the values that you have, and you believe in what you're speaking up about, then I think that's really important. And everyone is always going to have something to say, something to criticize you on. But as long as you have those beliefs and you believe in what you are saying, then you shouldn't let those, if people are criticizing you, don't let it affect you if you strongly believe in what you're putting out there.
Right. I think that's just a much more empowering, like, the platform should take it down. We should insist on those things. Absolutely. And at the same time, we need to train ourselves to be strong enough to, not be broken by deep fakes. Like, that's what you should teach your girls if this is really about women. So thank you. Thank you for that perspective. It was fantastic to talk to you. I hope you come back on Redacted another time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, let us know what you think of this. If this is a power grab by those in power, or if this is really something. Now, obviously, we saw when X was taken over by Elon Musk, they took it very seriously to take down child abuse, child trafficking, that kind of thing. So, we didn't see politicians praising that when, in fact, that happened during the Biden administration, and it did. So now that there's a new way where they're concerned about fakes, it's just so interesting because they were not concerned about real abuse that happened on the platform prior to Elon Musk. So let me know what you think of that. All right, coming up, we're going to look at, I got excited here. I hit my microphone. We're going to look at the Davos World Economic Forum program that is happening this week in Switzerland. It is very high on AI. It does seem to me, and we're going to talk about this together, it seems to me that the globalists expect the breakdown of world borders and a full hegemony of artificial intelligence. They think it will be our new legal system, our new religion, our new philosophers, our new life philosophy. Is that what we think? Is that what we want? Is that what we think is happening and is the globalist agenda? We're going to look and talk about this together. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you about our friends over at Cowboy Colostrum. Now, I did, in fact, bring my Cowboy Colostrum because this is something that I put in my yogurt most days. Every day that I eat yogurt, I have colostrum because I am a mammal. I have made colostrum before, and I know how amazing it is. Now, what colostrum is, if you've never either made it or thought about it before, is the first substance that a mammal makes before they nurse their babies. So if you've been a nursing mommy, you know that stuff is gold. It basically is a probiotic. It's an antibiotic. It's a multivitamin. It is everything that your baby needs to meet this world with a strong immunity, and you also can continue to benefit from it even if you're not a nursing infant. What Cowboy Colostrum is they take the colostrum that's left over after the calves feed and they make a supplement that you can still take advantage of. So it can strengthen your gut health. It can strengthen your overall immunity. It's really good for hair and skin. It is basically one big multivitamin all for you. So check it out for yourself by heading over to cowboycolostrum.com/redacted news. They have it in various flavors. There's strawberry, there's vanilla, there's all types that you can, there's a matcha, chocolate as well. You can put it in a coffee or a smoothie, or again, like I said, my preference is yogurt, and you can figure out how it can benefit your daily diet. So for a limited time, you can get 25% off your entire order. You can scan the QR code that you see on your screen, or go to cowboycolostrum.com/redacted news and make sure you use the code redacted news and you'll get 25% off your entire order. So check them out for yourself. Hey, before we move on to our next segment, we also want to tell you about Connect Invest. Now, you probably know that if your money is in a savings account, it is not working for you. It's just sitting there. If you have cash parked in a CD or any kind of, conservative saving, well, your money is being devalued day by day because of the political roller coaster that we're all on. But there is a smarter option, one that thousands of investors are already using to grow their wealth without volatility, without complicated real estate deals, and without needing a ton of money to get started. It's called Connect Invest. You can invest in real estate-backed notes and start earning fixed, predictable monthly income with returns of up to 9% annually. No tenants, no toilets, no 3 a.m. phone calls, no guesswork. It's done for you because you are collaborating with other serious investors. And here's what I love. You can get started with as little as $500. That's it, $500. You just go to connectinvest.com/redacted, create your free account, add $500 or more to your digital wallet, and then you choose the terms, either 6, 12, or 24 months, and then you just watch the monthly income hit your account. So you're helping fund real estate, commercial, and residential projects while not actually doing that work yourself. You're earning passive income every single month. Plus, they're giving our audience a special deal. When you sign up and fund your account today, you can get an extra $50 bonus straight into your digital wallet, and then you're earning interest on that $50 that you never had. That's free money instant returns before you even start. So if you've been wanting predictable monthly income, real estate backed returns without needing thousands to get started, well, this is your moment because you are watching the American dollar be devalued every single day. So invest in real assets. Your money should be working harder than you are. So let's make that happen. Go to redacted.inc/invest to get that $50 bonus. One more time, that's redacted.inc/invest. All right. Well, guess what? AI is your new religion. It's your new country. It's your new legal system. AI is your daddy. If you have not realized this, well, then you should be listening to the major theme at the Davos World Economic Forum in Switzerland happening this week, January in 2026. Listen to this speech. It's called An Honest Conversation on AI and Humanity. The speaker is Yuval Noah Harari. He's a research fellow at the Center for the Study for Existential Risk. And what he says here about AI, it is the new world order, and it's undeniable. We're going to listen to what he has to say. It's about 2 minutes long. And then we're going to talk about, do we want this? Watch.
Therefore, anything made of words will be taken over by AI. If laws are made of words, then AI will take over the legal system. If books are just combinations of words, then AI will take over books. If religion is built from words, then AI will take over religion. This is particularly true of religions based on books, like Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. Judaism calls itself the religion of the book, and it grants ultimate authority not to humans, but to words in books. Humans have authority in Judaism not because of our experiences, but only because we learn words in books. Now, no human can read and remember all the words in all the Jewish books, but AI can easily do that. What happens to a religion of the book when the greatest expert on the holy book is an AI? However, some people may say, can we really reduce human spirituality to just words in books? Does thinking mean only putting language tokens in order? If you observe yourself carefully when you're thinking, you will notice that something else is happening there besides words popping in your mind and forming sentences. You also have some non-verbal feelings. Maybe you feel pain. Maybe you feel fear. Maybe love. Some thoughts are painful. Some are frightening. Some are full of love. While AIs become better than us with words, at least for now, we have zero evidence that AIs can feel anything.
Okay. So did you hear what he says here? He says that since our religions are based on text, that if now AI is the expert on that text, it can manipulate what our religious beliefs are. Now, you may think, oh no, I have my own understanding of the Bible, of the Torah, of the Quran, whatever it is, and I will not be manipulated by AI. But what if in a generation or two, that's no longer true? If AI is the authority on these religions, on these laws, AI now as the owner of jurisprudence. What he later goes on to say is that humans may be at the end of their world dominance because it was humans who have learned to use words to get strangers to cooperate. Now something has emerged that can do that better and will do it for us. Now think about how world governments have used religion to control an agenda, how they've used words to control an agenda, how they've used laws, and they have done this through human train of thought. Now, what will happen? So I don't know, boys, do you have any reaction to this before we look at the rest of the program that's all AI based? Because what it says to me is that these world orders will break down and whoever controls the AI is the winner. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah, I mean, you
Well, it's
ask
not
it.
desirable, but it seems to be what they are proscribing, don't you think? Is that what you're saying? Right. Yeah. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we already know like AI gets so many things wrong, and if it's gonna learn wrong from wrong, it's just gonna be a cycle, and it's only gonna. I mean, I don't know,
I think that we're going out to the stream, so I'm listening to you, but you are not.
It was me. I had me muted. Sorry, I'm
Okay.
because we had all the technical issues. I'm
Philip made
all out of
amazing
sorts
points,
here.
and you all missed it. Okay. Philip
My
was
point
basically
I really didn't. I just kind of
Socrates right
mumbled. Yeah, I just kind of mumbled some stuff about. I don't think it's a good idea. Like I think that's what they're doing, but I don't think it's a good idea. So yeah, that's what I was basically said.
Okay. And the point David made is that AI is faulty, extremely faulty. I think anyone who's used it understands that. And so what will it be based on? But for how long will it be faulty and how will it be faulty? We don't know, right? So when you go to the Davos World Economic Forum, you can see the program that's happening this week in Switzerland. And when you search for the AI-based sessions, now think it's Monday through Friday of this week, you get a 47 sessions return. So what I thought we would do is look at these AI-based programs that are now currently, the one that you just saw was the kickoff. It was, what is the ethical concern about AI being our new world government? But it does very much seem like this is what they want and anticipate. And again, that clip as AI as your religion should sort of stop you in your tracks. You can have a gut reaction, but we have to think deeply about this because it may or may not be our future. So let's take a look at the first set. Let's put up on the screen. Is there anyone here that is sort of, making your stomach turn? What really caught my attention was the one on the bottom right, digital embassies for sovereign AI. Now, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but what I think it means is that it understands that AI will be a global power in and of itself, and who controls it? Because how can you actually say, Estonia or whatever is sovereign when their AI lives on servers in the United States and is controlled by the autocrats? What does that mean, right? Where do world borders exist? And how do you create an embassy? How do you create sovereignty? How do you have a country at all if AI is the global world order? Let's go to the next set of sessions. Really at the healthcare, China's AI economy. China's AI is a closed ecosystem from ours. What happens if that is no longer a closed ecosystem? Preventing jobless growth, because AI is going to continue to create jobs and eliminate jobs. What are those jobs? What is that shift, that power shift? Any here that stand
Well, and
out
also
to you
just
guys?
think about it. Like the more dependent we become on it, like all you'd have to do is they just have to know where the data centers were, destroy those, and our whole system would go down. Our whole system of
Right.
this AI government.
Yeah. What were you going to
Well,
say?
I'm looking at that. Our market's mispricing the future. Like that seems weird to me. Like, because aren't the markets, don't they kind of settle themselves? I mean, how could they be mispricing the future? Like, I'm curious about that one.
Well, no, because the opening session today on Tuesday was all about growth in a high debt government. Since we have record debt for pretty much all Western governments, how do we grow? And so I think that they're realizing that AI is following a perverted market system. It's not based on, a full independent market system.
Right.
Yeah, I think that you're right. Let's go back to the next one. Can we go to the one that says, can we save the middle class? Realizing that AI will absolutely wipe out a lot of the middle class jobs that we think about.
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, what middle class?
Well, good point. Well, Clayton has just rejoined us. I sent him on an errand to pick up our children. Any of these sessions that are giving you a stomachache that you see on the screen there? Factories that think. So an AI factory. So what does that even mean? Factories that think. Right, the assembly line
they
that can
suggesting that
stop
factories
and start
now?
itself.
Yeah, factories now don't think. Like, is that what they're suggesting? Like, there's just a bunch of dumb factories right now, and AI is going to make them smarter.
Well, I wouldn't say.
What the hell does that even mean?
Yeah, innovation at scale, like factories without humans. No human intervention any longer.
What is this? Cyber defenders in the age of AI? Cyber defenders, public speakers. We can
expand on that separately, but yes, I think it's about this information age, and since we've seen that they're thinking of embassies, digital embassies, they realize that there will be a war online, like an absolute AI war, and what that means. The last one I wanted to look at is the physical economy is back. I think what they're saying here is that, and if you expand this and read the session, is that there will be a need for electricians, for people who can, support the machinery, and what those jobs will be. So people like maybe a lawyer, someone who's in public relations, someone who's in like middle management, thinkers. We won't have that anymore, but there will be a physical economy. And I don't know, the way I see it, and I don't mean to be overly cynical, is the matrix, that your body will support the machines now. They will need you to implement the electricity to support the machinery, but then what else, right?
So I spent about 3 hours today talking with David Icke, and we mostly spoke about AI and the transhumanism that's unfolding. And really it is this idea of the battery of the matrix and us fueling with our negativity and all of that, and fear, anxiety, and chaos that is being created, like fueling this transhumanism agenda. And the ultimate goal for these guys, we lived in an information war, and their next step is the transhumanism through AI, which is the fusing of the biological with artificial intelligence. And he said, this is the goal. This is the ultimate goal from these people, from these oligarchs, these tech oligarchs, these billionaires who are really the ones who are running the entire planet, whether Sam Altman, OpenAI, Bill Gates, these individuals, these are the people that are running the future of our planet. And the ultimate goal is for them to have total control of our thought through the fusion of biology with AI. And that's their goal. And that's, once you understand their game plan, you can see it all coming together. I mean, Elon Musk openly talks about with everything with what's the brain Neuralink, getting rid of doctors, as he talked about last week, that you shouldn't even go to medical school anymore. He said, I don't know if you saw that speech last week where he said you shouldn't go to medical school anymore. And that's one of the sessions is right here.
Yeah.
It's what the future of doctors in AI. If you put that back up on the screen.
Let me see if I can find it. We had some.
It was, I don't see it on that one, but I saw it on one of the screens.
The intelligent.
Yeah, this maybe it was I don't know.
Breakthrough in women's health.
Yeah, I think there was one though.
Is that suggesting that all like surgeries and everything will go to like complete robotics and AI, like no humans doing surgery anymore?
Well, a lot of them are.
Well, that's what Elon said last week in this interview. He said he said in about 5 years or less, he was optimistic, they're going to be doing surgeries at far more advanced precision than human beings can. And they already are doing it. But it'll be in 5 years or less. There's just, you're not going to ask for a human surgeon, basically was his point. You're going to just, and it's going to, his whole idea is that it's going to democratize really expensive healthcare. So it's going to be available for people who heretofore wouldn't have been able to afford expensive healthcare, because now you'll have robots doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
are they going to be trained to have bedside manner for colostomies?
And what do
Colonoscopies?
you, possibly get a
Not for
mammogram,
you.
see how you feel about that. What do you think are the profit centers for those who are not controlled by AI?
the
what
profit centers for those who are not
what is that
controlled.
life like if you are not in the matrix and you are what, right? Like if we use this.
Well, how do you measure profit? Because David Icke's whole point in my conversation with him, by the way, that'll publish probably in about a week or so, and it was one of the best interviews, like one of the most, not best by me, but one of the most eye-opening, illuminating interviews I've ever done. His point is by expanding our consciousness. So how do you measure profit? Like, because if by expanding your consciousness, you're not attached to this like matrix, you're already winning, right? It's already profitable for you because you're already winning. You're not plugged into this nefarious sort of circular plot of chaos that they want us on, this like this entire hamster wheel of being in chaos, right? So how do you measure profit then?
Well, I guess I'm asking
joy?
who will benefit from it? Will any human benefit from it, or will it eventually just be out of our hands? And and it's just Agent Smith, right? Like there's no other humans not plugged in. I don't know. This is an existential question.
No other humans not plugged in.
It'll be like the people in the underground in the Matrix. Those people that lived in the
people who live in this Zion city.
Yeah, the Zion city. Yeah.
No, but they're the revolution.
Right.
So
I think that, because there's going to be a lot of people that resist it. I mean, I think they have to, because this is a very dangerous way forward.
Yeah. It feels like it. It feels like it. I think that
we're talking about the Amish, having this society where it's like Battlestar Galactica, where you're not plugged into the matrix. You're completely outside of it.
Right.
So you almost are returning to simplicity. You're returning to churning butter. You're returning to
an agrarian society. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, because if you think about like the things that AI can't really do, like the trades, that's what we're going to be left with. Like everybody's going to have to be a plumber or an electrician, because unless they figure out a way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and eventually, I mean, look, they're already 3D printing houses, right? So they're already figuring out intelligent ways around even having to use builders. Now, Elon Musk's point was the trades are going to sustain probably for many, many more decades until like AI is able to take that over. So yeah, electricians, plumbers, a lot of the trades that are going to be involved in this. But of course, it's sad because a lot of these electricians are being used because they need them for AI data centers.
Right.
Right. So it's like they're almost like sort of fueling their own demise.
I think that, a lot of the chat here is saying in a lot of ways it's good and in a lot of ways it's not. And so we have to, the fact about religion, the bit about religion in that speech stopped me in my tracks, because I thought, okay, AI will be the interpreter of God, which could make AI God, which is very concerning. But at the same time, we see humans perverting religion for personal gain and power. So we're not saying the way it is right either. So we're stuck in a time where we have to really think about what we want it to be and what is better. And we can't really know, right? That's very humbling.
Yeah, I think though, if you understand that this like idea of fusion and having our brains sort of put on the back burner in favor of this like artificial intelligence, which is going to do all of our thinking and feeling and controlling us. I mean, look,
I don't want that.
The test run was COVID, right? The test run was how they were able to, through the information war, control so many people. And just through like CNN running, having doctors on telling you to go get 5 COVID shots, and, the censorship that was unfolding on Facebook and YouTube and Google, like that was the information piece of this. And now I think you're seeing the next stage, which we, talking about this morning, which is this artificial intelligence fusion piece. And that's sort of their ultimate form of control. I just got done reading Kevin Shipp's book on the CIA, and he said, It was well known within the CIA, the agency, the number one goal, if you can understand and if you can understand how people think, that's the ultimate weapon.
Yeah.
Now imagine not only understanding how they think, but
Or
also manipulating it.
Yeah, jinx.
So,
Right.
I mean,
I'm
they're
not
there.
saying this is better, you guys, by any form or fashion. I am incredibly afraid of AI as God. I think we all should be, right? And so then we better figure out what it is we believe right now before AI tells us.
And like so many things, that they're going to sell it with the convenience of it, because in a lot of ways you can see where it can make things so much more convenient for us, you know, and to not have to worry about certain things like self-driving cars. We just get in a car, sit in the back, and away we go. We don't have to worry about accidents. Don't have to worry. You know what I mean? Like they can just eliminate so many worries that we have and sell it to us that way. But then it's like, what's the end game?
Well, and think about virtual reality or artificial intelligence, where, you know, if we're living like in a full simulation right now. Think about in the Matrix when what's his name, not Tank. Who's the guy that Cypher? You know, if you've never seen the Matrix, I mean, spoiler alerts, but you know, Cypher, of course, wants this. He basically wants to be blue pilled again, right? And so he wants this utopia where he can taste delicious steak, have a beautiful woman, be wealthy. But he doesn't care that he's going to be in a total fake reality and a simulation.
Yeah.
But he's fine with that. And guess what? Millions of people would be fine with that. That's the sad
so
part.
Depressing.
But it's true. Because if you think about how people are right now, and you know this, people are just kind of go through their days as drones, and they're already plugged in. The reason the movie The Matrix is so powerful is because it's true. And so many people are just so willing to kind of go along with it. And so when AI steps in and then becomes their guide, their God, their leader, like it's going to give them purpose.
I mean, think of all of these people willing to give control of their body to a GLP-1 and say, I can't be in control of my own weight.
So I'm going to use Ozempic.
So I will use this, which will give me permanent stomach paralysis.
Permanent diarrhea.
Yeah, permanent diarrhea. And I will just no longer be in control anymore of my bodily. I can't do it. Hands in the air. That's the same mentality that is, you know, I can't pay my bills. I can't support my children. AI can do it. Let's let AI do it. Right? Yeah, we're already being programmed in that way.
And everything's going to be so much more efficient. Like efficiency will go through the roof because you can go to McDonald's and get everything's going to be perfect every time. I ordered cheese, pickle, you know, whatever, perfect every time. So it's like all these things like can be benefits, but it's just like when it gets into like Neuralink and stuff like that, I mean, that's actually like within us.
Well, and that's also, if you think about what's going on with what's happening right now with I read a whole story about a restaurant it's called Wonder or something, which is now all fully autonomous, and you can go in and it will, like with tubes, like vacuum tubes, shoots like lettuce down, everything, and it's like a fact. Now they've got like 30 locations already. It was in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, I think. Occasionally one of those Apple News stories pops through, the mainstream media garbage. But I was like, what is this? It's a fully like AI-driven restaurant, and there are like 30 locations already across the United States, and people love it. And they just go in. They don't have to deal with human beings, and they get the exact proportion in these like plastic tubes of like sunflower seeds and lettuce, and then they want piece chicken or whatever. It's just like boom, boom, boom. Here's your vacuum tube food. That's what we're coming to.
So what is, do you think, the motivation of people to go to Davos and promote this borderless, fully controlled world?
Well,
the entrepreneur part of it, probably. It's like first mover's advantage.
No. Well, I mean, I think if you look at the more nefarious piece of it, which I always do with these people, I mean, these people are pedophiles and Satanists, and they are the worst. They are the worst of the worst. And so I think it's about total control.
You went to the darkest place.
Yeah, I don't think it's about.
I gave you an opportunity, and you went,
I'm saying that the people that are, yes, I believe that you're correct that it's the darkest place, but the people that are doing this are the people that want to be the first to get there, so that we, the people, don't get that control before they do.
That's a good way to put it.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, but it comes back to control. But it's not about they want us to be entrepreneurs. They want to control the entire pipe.
Right.
You know.
Well, someone who's just promoting this at Davos is the useful idiot. There's someone behind them petting the cat, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, if you come back to the few, you've got like Larry Fink, who's now in charge of Davos, right? I mean, here's a guy who took it over for Klaus Schwab. He runs BlackRock, for crying out loud. Like, okay. And that's all you need to know. And then you've got, the Bill Gateses of the world, the Sam Altmans of the world at ChatGPT. You've got like a handful of like 5 or 6 people that are running the show. They're running everything right now. So this idea of like borders and everything, I mean, it's all, they just want.
Yeah. And I just, I'm just sitting here thinking like us, like our generation and possibly Gen Z might be the last generation that will remember a time before AI. Mm-hmm. And so like a lot of the people that are implementing this are people that remember the time before it. But it's like, I don't think they really care about us. They just want to like hit that younger market because those are the people that are going to be more willing to plug in and just not care. They're going to have a harder time. It's why like if I tried to go join the military, they wouldn't want anything to do with me because I have way too many opinions of my own for that to work, Yeah. And so I think they just need that younger generation to be the ones that plug in and don't care.
Mark my words, in a few years, it will become, I don't want to say retro, but it's going to become sought after to find things that you can use unplugged, where it's not connected to the quote unquote AI matrix, where it's, I don't know, family game night, it's like, it's going to be things that are not connected to the matrix. It's going to be in many ways Amish, anachronistic, and you're going to see a push for that, I think.
Yes, but you do see the teenagers these days longing for that experience. And I noticed this because I saw a video that my son had liked on a social media platform.
Kind of ironic.
Yes, that said, do my parents not realize that they're living my dream to grow up in the 80s, to be a teenager in the 90s, how cool they think the 80s was because we had Walkmans and because we had freedom and we weren't tracked by our parents and
social interaction.
And so it occurred to me that his generation longs for this anachronism when the world was not connected. And maybe we will see the revolution come from this generation in a very, that this is what postmodernism is like a juxtaposition. That's the reason that Blade Runner was filmed in this 1920s fashion. So we're getting academic here, but postmodernism is an anachronistic resistance to digital control.
Yeah, to modernity.
Well, and I think
to modernity. So maybe that's going to happen. Like we will see the finger wave and red lipstick, and that's the resistance. I love it. So that's
and these people are going to be absolutely dependent on people like Sam Altman, and so it's like you can't it's going to take many people to program this stuff to do these things. And so I think we'll always have whistleblowers. We'll always have people that are letting us know what they're doing inside because not everybody is going to be as corruptible as the people at the top building the stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're going to have, people that like have actual books instead of Kindle books. Like it's, physical things where they can interact with those things that aren't touched and tied to the matrix. And, I saw actually,
which is why I think,
go ahead.
I was going to say, why I think you're going to see, like environmentalism, like being used to kind of like steer people away from books and like all these, like I think they're going to actively start trying to sort of gobble up this physical technology, so that way, because if all books are digital, all they have to, they can quickly, then you get in a 1984 scenario where they can just edit whatever they want in real time, and that information is just changed forever without that physical copy.
Yeah. Things that are not plugged into the internet. I mean, again, it's Battlestar Galactica, right? And they have total control of it when it's connected to the internet, and they can just decide to re-edit your book, the book that you were reading in real time, and they just want to change it. And they,
look at what they did to all the movies. They went back and removed sections of old movies because it was racist or because it was this. Like they just erased history.
Right. Well,
I mean, it's coming. It's here, and in many
there's
ways,
no
it's
way
already
to
here.
conclude this segment, you guys. We could go on literally forever
Yeah.
talking about a dystopic future.
Well, I mean, think about just like 6G, just to kind of put a pin in it. Like, it's going to be omnipresent now. So you already have 5G. 6G is going to be everywhere. Trump's been openly talking about it over the past couple of weeks, how it'll be able to like basically penetrate our bodies down to the cellular level. He talked about this, how they'll be able to know exactly what you're doing, track everything, and have 6G everywhere.
And the unfortunate thing is, it's like everybody wants to have the first mover's advantage, so they don't do enough research to know the ramifications of long-term use. So they just like, we got to get there first. So they just implement it, and we'll worry about that stuff later.
Well, right. That's what Elon Musk had this, call to a pause. It didn't happen. That was cute that he said it. We covered it like 2 years ago, but we're here. So
someone brought up, I saw someone in the chat saying Sony did that too. You guys remember like Sony, like people like bought digital movies in their Sony library, and then Sony just like decided that they weren't available for you anymore. They just took them away from you. They just like deleted them. It's like, wait, I bought that. If you read these licenses now, if you buy a Kindle book, now it says you don't own the book. It just says you own a license.
yes.
It's like they're lending it to you. So you don't actually have a digital library of anything. They own everything. And I think unless Congress like gets in the way and actually makes digital ownership where we all have sort of an on blockchain token where we know that like Natali owns this book and you can't take it away from her. But I don't see Congress. I don't see Congress doing anything like that.
They don't care.
They don't care at all. Anyway.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up. We could talk forever about it. We really appreciate your comments. Great comments on this. So keep them coming. Thank you so much. We will be back tomorrow as we continue to, expand and take Greenland and all of that stuff. So we will see you here tomorrow, you guys. Same time, same place. That's 4 p.m. Eastern. Hey, we want to remind you we have a newsletter. We write it every day. It's an accompaniment to this show. And the way we write it, I try really hard to make sure that you have links to original source material. So if we're covering a story like Greenland, I really try hard to not link you to CNN's coverage of Greenland. I will either take you to the White House press release or whatever, as close as I can get you to source material. That is really my goal every time that I write the newsletter, so that when you get to this show, you have links to see these things for yourself, not our opinions of it, not our take on it. We really don't want just an audience that agrees with us. You guys push us to think of things differently, and that's why we consider ourselves a community. So make sure you're part of our newsletter. If you are indeed a part of the Redacted newsletter community, you can find it at redacted.inc. You just put in your email address, click the authentication button, and it is totally free. There's nothing there that's behind a paywall or an upsell or a cross-sell or anything like that. So get our free newsletter at redacted.inc.
Someone in the chat room says, hey, tomorrow will you guys have sound on your show?
That's funny.
Yes.
Who needs sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You try and do a show with no technical difficulties. I dare you.
I don't know what the hell. I don't. Do we ever?
We're
figure
working
out why?
on we're working on a whole AI workflow. So
Yeah, we're just gonna.
Yeah, the whole show will be replaced with AI.
Do I have to be here then?
No.
What am I going to do?
like, good morning, I'm Clay.
You can go read your digital books.
Okay.
Welcome to Redacted.
Maxim, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, don't give up your gun rights. Someone
right.
says physical media forever. All right, everyone.
We'll see you tomorrow.
See you guys.